Hello and welcome to the Metaverse Insider's interview series. My name is Josh, and in today's episode, we present part one of our interview with David Taylor, co-founder and senior product officer at NextEarth. Thank you for joining us today, David. We really appreciate your time.
Good to be here.
Could you please provide us with a brief introduction to NextEarth and what it is that you're currently doing?
Absolutely. So NextEarth is an Earth-based metaverse. It's the largest Web3 metaverse in the world in terms of landowners. Our landowner community is stronger than other side or Decentraland or Sandbox, which is something we're very proud of given the fact that we only launched last August. So the company is less than 18 months old. We have a slightly different approach to the metaverse. Our mission and vision is to create a fair digital life for consumers. There is as we like to talk about it, there is this ongoing battle between the corporate cloud, Web 2 and Web 3. And the metaverse is the perfect opportunity to basically realign the power structure between consumers and creators. What our end goal is similar to, just imagine for a minute that Facebook would give you a revenue share from all the monetization that they do with your data. And that could solve all sorts of different problems. And we have created an economy that supports that. We have a broader strategy that I'm pretty sure we're going to go into. But in a nutshell, NextEarth, largest Earth-based metaverse and largest Web3 metaverse, and creating a fair digital life.
Thank you. I find this really interesting. It's one of the first times I've seen a metaverse space orientated around the actual planet Earth. I find it more captivating than other projects like Decentraland and Sandbox.
And you're not alone in that, because the majority of businesses that we talk to, obviously the conversations start with, we want to come to the metaverse, but we have no idea how. This is what I usually call the metaverse problem, or the metaverse dilemma, right? Yeah. Goldman Sachs goes out and says it's going to be worth as an industry $2 trillion in a couple years, but when you start talking about business owners today, they know they want to be in the metaverse. They know that it's the next big thing, but they have no idea how to grab it, how to start doing business in it, how to find the ROI positive investments for their own business. And being a video game-like environment in the other metaverse businesses or metaverse players, it just makes it incredibly harder. When we talk to these companies, it's just trivial, because every single business on the planet has some sort of relevance to geological location or geographical location. And that's the one thing. And then the other thing is that an example that I like to come up with, e-commerce did not proliferate because it was a bleeding edge technology and it was fun. It proliferated because it skyrocketed the bottom line for these businesses in a way that they understood. And the current problem with metaverse players in the industry is that if I'm a business owner, I'm expected to go into the business and create a video game-like experience for my consumers, regardless of what my service is, which means that I need to create a new kind of service, completely new, and the risk profile of that is orders of magnitude larger. While there is a lot easier, lower hanging fruit opportunity for business owners to join the metaverse, which is moving some of their operations from Web 2 to Web 3 by also seizing their relevance to geographical location. And that means that when a business comes to NextEarth, they're not required to completely revamp their entire business strategy. We help them find the parts of their existing technology that if they move it from Web 2 to Web 3, it's going to be X times cheaper and faster. And we give them the technology to do that through a product we call NextEarth Operating System, NEOS. And then they open up the further revenue opportunities that come with Web 3. But the core value proposition of the metaverse for businesses is not about a video game. It's about a move from Web 2 to Web 3 because it's more secure, it's faster, it's easier, it's cheaper, etc.
Awesome. It sounds like you're acting as enablers to help port individuals and companies alike into the Web3 space.
Right.
Fantastic. I find it very interesting as well when discussing Web3 and Metaverse. So do you have much differentiation between the two? So I know that many people use those terms synonymously, However, they can be defined as two completely different concepts.
And I think it is. Based on my experience, I've been in technology for 12 years, and 7 of that was spent in Web3 and crypto. And here is a good idea to think about this. Web3 and Metaverse are both the kind of new internet, right? But if you look at the current internet, you start looking at cloud computing, which is basically the back end of the current internet. And then you look at software as a service applications, which is basically the front end of the internet and websites. When we talk about the new internet, the metaverse as a concept is the new front end, what users are interacting with, and not just in terms of like in 3D and virtual spaces, but also in terms of economic relationships. How do I buy things? What are the economic contracts between me and the service providers? Do I generate revenue from this or that? What can I do as a user on the internet? And the metaverse is going to be the answer for that. However, the metaverse also has, or the new internet also has a backend which is run by Web3. So Web3 empowers the metaverse, and that brings us to a new iteration or a new generation of online technology. The way I like to think about it is that the metaverse is often being referred to as a virtual space, right? Somewhere I can go to and do things there. And I don't think it's a point in space. I think it's a point in time. It's a point in time when your digital life becomes more important to you than your actual physical life. And if you think about it, we already spend 50% of our wake time plugged into online communities and online platforms. We generate tons of data that is being monetized without our consent or without us getting any revenue share. And the problem, in a sense, we are already living in some kind of proto-verse, but it's fragmented. According to Dashlane, an average internet user has 150 different internet accounts. And the metaverse gives you an opportunity and a vision for having this unified experience when you have one digital avatar instead of having 150, which is basically your internet accounts right now on different portals, and go everywhere and interact with different communities, different service providers. And that's the front end aspect of that. But we realized really quickly that without creating an underlying economic foundation for the metaverse, you're going to basically recreate what we did in Web 2, and it didn't work, right? Facebook wanted to connect people, and then it ended up destroying democracy. So we don't want that. We have an opportunity now to recreate the economic contract between the users and the creators of online services. So this is why we kind of took an unorthodox route and didn't create a VR environment in the beginning and said, I think this is a mistake. And we said, let's create the economic foundations first, which is what we did. Design the Next Earth token, design the Next Earth smart contract system, and we have an incredibly robust and sophisticated simulation for how the economy operates. And every new development that we create is tested against this simulation to make sure that this is an incredibly scalable and sustainable environment that ends up optimizing revenue generation for metaverse landowners.
Yeah, this is really brilliant stuff. Really keen to learn more about this. So you touched briefly earlier on the NEOS project. Can you please elaborate on what this is?
So NEOS is basically an operating system for the metaverse. We see that the metaverse has a middleware problem. If I want to develop things for the new internet, I have a bunch of problems because there are only 200,000 Solidity developers in the world, and there are no best practices. So if I'm a regular small business owner, it takes me what, $1 million to create a Web3 project, a Web3 port to my business. Most small business owners cannot afford that kind of risky investment. So we said, now that we found the market where we want to start integrating businesses from Web 2 to Web 3, which is location and map-based services. It's a $300 billion market, and those businesses are already utilizing the map of the Earth. So that's where we start. And we said, okay, but in order to bring them onto Web3, we need two things. We need to figure out how we can expand the reach of this technology, of Web3 technology, because there are 200,000 Solidity developers, and they're incredibly unaffordable and not reachable. And there are more than 20 million Web2 developers. So how do we reach those 20 million? That was the first question. The second question is, what is the technology needed for small business owners to understand and being able to leverage Web3 technology? And the answer to the first question was Neos itself. It's a fully Web2 compatible language agnostic system. So Web2 developers can create smart contracts and mint their NFTs and make use of Web3 infrastructure in any programming language using their own tech stack. You don't need to actually hire Solidity coders. You can write a smart contract on Polygon in Node.js or Python. You don't need to understand any of the Web3 thing. If you can design on a piece of paper how the Web3 architecture should operate, the rest is being taken care of you by Neos. And Neos contains 4 different API families. And the first one is the object API, which means that you can read all the different land data, virtual land data, geographical location, country, etc. And we keep updating the data endpoints for virtual land, on which we call the Genesis layer. The other 3 are related to building. So there is a layer API, which is basically how you create your own canvas for building your own application within the metaverse. And then the other 2 are the minting API, which is you can mint your own NFT collection through our API. And the 4th one is an interesting thing, which also answers the question to the original second question, which is what is the technology needed to build true utility and business use cases for business owners, and that is dynamic NFTs. What we've seen after talking to a lot of business owners is that they can't really make use of NFTs because they're static objects in an immutable database. Once you mint an NFT, it's there, it's done, the metadata is fixed. And if you look at all the available technology today, most companies that claim to have dynamic NFTs, all they actually do is they mint a static NFT and then build a Web2 based environment where you can put in your NFT and you can do all sorts of things. It's just token gating with a static object. So in the last 9 months, we've developed the technology that basically it's truly on-chain dynamic NFTs where you can change different properties of an NFT through smart contract transactions, thus storing the changes of value of these properties on the chain, on the NFT itself, meaning that all the value capture that happens for the NFT, for example, a membership account, collecting air miles, you can have an NFT that's your membership account, and then you have one property that shows the number of air mile points you accrued, and you can keep upgrading or updating the value as you spend and earn more. This was the missing link for businesses to be able to understand and leverage Web3 technology, and we've developed it, and that is the 4th API, which is the controller API through which you can update your dynamic NFTs. So as far as I know, currently our dynamic NFTs are the only truly on-chain dynamic NFTs on the market. And we're actually pretty proud of this because it's something that I've been working on even before Next Earth. The first time I sketched this up was in 2018. And when a new business comes to Next Earth, we give them full access to Neos. They generate their API keys, and then we teach them how to design their own dynamic NFTs. And once we write the specifications, one of the software engineers at their business can build the whole thing without understanding Web3.
Thank you very much. I believe you're right in saying that. Speak to a fair few people and there aren't very many dynamic NFTs currently out there. Very impressive stuff. I think, as you were saying before, this is why there are many people out there that consider NFTs to be a fad. While many in people's opinions, they lack use cases. Yet in this respect, they open up many opportunities. So it's quite refreshing to see them being portrayed in this fashion. Just as you said, they can be more than a simple picture or piece of art.
Yeah, when I first tried to work out dynamic NFTs, there was a company that I was talking with, and they were working in real estate, and we started working out the details of how we could put ownership deeds onto the chain and basically mint NFTs that would do it. But the problem with that was the same thing exactly, right? You would need to change different properties of the NFT itself. You would need to be able to get, I don't know, for a bank to have a mortgage right on the NFT itself. You would need to have temporary marks on the deed itself, which is done currently in the current system in almost any countries. But if you turn a deed into an NFT, if you want to change anything, you need to mint a new NFT. And then one piece of real estate in 10 years would end up having dozens of different NFTs minted together, and it's just an absolute mess.
Yeah, I can definitely see your reasoning there. Very interesting stuff. This will tie us over very nicely, actually, for my next question, which will kick off part 2 of our conversation with Next Earth. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Be sure to stay tuned for weekly updates in the industry and content covering all things Metaverse. Follow the Metaverse Insider on Twitter and LinkedIn, and visit metaverse.tech for all our content. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.